Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Caitlin from grassfedgirl.com, and today we're talking with Janae Laxon. She's a student in Washington State, and she is had a lot of health issues to talk about, and she's going to share them with us. And she's also been experimenting with carnivore and had great success. So we're so glad she's here. Welcome, Janae.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Well, awesome. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you got interested in the carnivore diet.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was 15, I started experiencing really severe symptoms with fatigue and chronic pain, and specifically with weight gain, which now know is related to my thyroid condition. So at the time when I was 15, I was just like, well, I'm not eating very well. I'm not exercising. That's probably the reason why I'm not feeling super great. So I ended up going paleo, which really helped for about 2 years, and it started to lose effects. And so then that's when the ketogenic diet came around. I was like, okay, well, this is supposed to be, really great. This is possibly the next step for me. So I did that, and being in ketosis just catapulted me to feeling so much better. But then 2 years later, it started to lose its effects. And that's when carnivore started rolling around. Now, before carnivore, I had learned that I had Lyme disease, which was causing all of my autoimmune conditions. And I was seeing a functional doctor at the time, and I was really lucky that I didn't go through traditional treatment. I didn't go through the antibiotics or any of that, but the treatments were still not working. And I was at the end of my rope with having to take pills constantly, being on that really strict protocol. And I just quit. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's not working. So I decided to try carnivore instead. And it was actually the only thing that worked. The only thing that worked. Getting those plant anti-nutrients out of my diet completely revamped everything. And then after carnivore, unfortunately, I started to experience some symptoms again, and I knew what I needed was to go strict carnivore. But at the time, I couldn't afford it. Being in school is very expensive, and red meat is unfortunately the most expensive cut of meat. So I just told myself I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to stick to carnivore as, with what I can eat. So chicken, lots of seafood, and try and eat primarily beef. But like I said, I was experiencing symptoms again, so I started to give up hope. And then I ended up trying cold laser therapy. And that is what has completely revamped my, like, just it and carnivore. It completely changed my trajectory and outcome on my health. It has been absolutely incredible. Those two things together, I think they are so powerful for autoimmune disease. I cannot rave about them enough, honestly.
Okay, so that's a lot.
Sorry.
No, I mean, we want to go back into it. So, so you did paleo now. Were you on thyroid medication then?
I I wasn't at the time. We didn't know what was wrong with me. I honestly thought it was just from poor eating and lack of exercise that I was feeling as bad as I was.
So how did you feel? I mean, what was the main thing?
It was I felt tired all the time. I had no energy. At the time, I was also suffering from uh, eating disorder, specifically body dysmorphia, and I was like, I need to get control of my health. And the one way I knew to do that was through my diet and through food. What can I control in terms of my life, basically.
So,
Um,
what do you mean when you say body dysmorphia? Like you just thought you were bigger than you were, or?
so yeah, so but with body dysmorphia, you basically you nitpick everything about yourself. You kind of blow everything out of proportion. Some people, and for most people, they think they're much bigger than they are. They focus on like one specific part of their body that they can't tolerate, basically, that they think they need to change. They have an overwhelming need to change that. And for some people, they actually think they're smaller than they are. That's a much smaller percentage, though. Most people believe they're very, very large compared to what they actually are, which is where you get, anorexia and that those eating disorders. Luckily, I never went that far, but I yeah, it was pretty severe at one point. So I'm very thankful that I found these lifestyles, because I credit them to really putting me on the right path to figuring out what was wrong with my health in the first place.
So how did you figure out you had Hashimoto's?
So I got diagnosed with Lyme disease, and then my blood work from there revealed, so reverse T3 being extremely high and all those fun
Did you
numbers.
have did you have thyroid antibodies too, or?
I did, yeah. I don't have my blood work with me. It's back at my
Okay.
campus, but yeah, it was basically what my functional doctor said is it's very severe. This explains a lot why you're struggling with your mental state of mind, and just life in general, with not having any energy and not being able to function.
And so what made him think you had Lyme?
So I grew up in a very holistic family. Everything that my parents did, they took a holistic approach to, because I had a special needs sister who had severe epilepsy. And my mom found out that, oh, when she eats grains, her seizures actually increase in frequency and intensity. So coming from that background, my mom immediately always put me on a holistic approach to figuring out what was wrong with me. So yeah, it's been a long journey, and
Well, that's
yeah,
really lucky. Most
it's
kids are just eating, Fruit Loops, so you're really
mhm.
that
I
you had
yeah,
that's
I grew up on salmon and avocados. I didn't grow up on a ketogenic diet specifically, but I ate fairly low carb for the first few years of my life.
well, you got a lot of good um, nutrition that way. A lot of
Yeah.
missing things that kids don't get.
Mhm. I see it pretty frequently, unfortunately, in a lot of my family. It's it's to me, I'm always just, you know, I have a hard time dealing with it sometimes, but I understand everyone has to make, their own life choices. But
You mean
having,
see a lot of people eating unhealthy or?
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
have a
I
lot
have
of
a lot of
people
people
in my
in my
family with
family with
mental disorders like schizophrenia and bipolar, and um, coming from my major and everything, we research a lot of those disorders, and we know that diet actually can play a specific role in those and controlling those. So
well,
it's hard.
that's I'm surprised that your school recognizes that because that doesn't seem like
hmm
common information either.
This is actually the first semester that I had a professor that acknowledged that Ansel Keys completely wrecked our health.
Oh
Like
wow, that's
the
cool.
first, yeah, and it was psychology as a science. My professor cannot stand bias. And he went off on this big long rant about how, oh yeah, by the way, sugar is very bad for you and fat is not. It was it's been one of my favorite classes the entire semester because of his
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I shudder to think what I wasn't interested in nutrition back then. I mean, I didn't know I was, but um, when I was in school, but I shudder to think if I had been in that program, what it would have been like.
Yeah, it's I have not taken any nutrition courses because I don't think I would be able to handle them. I I had a friend who took one, and one of the questions on the exam was, what is the brain's preferred fuel source?
Uh,
And of course,
uh,
the correct answer was sugar, but he also put ketones on there, and my friend answered ketones just to, um, mess with the professor. And I was like, why did you do that? You just gave up 2 points. But it was,
yeah,
I commend her. It was to make a point.
yeah, she was taking a stand. Uh,
Yeah.
so so you were doing a holistic protocol with the Lyme
hmm
disease, but then you got fed up with that. Tell
Yeah.
us a little
It
more.
just, yeah, it was just more pills. I mean, it kind of felt like I was in a traditional treatment in a way, even though it was nutraceuticals. And the fact that it wasn't working and it was extremely expensive, I was just like, there's no point in continuing this if it's not going to work. And unfortunately, those protocols are pretty rigorous to stick to. I was having to actually take pills during my classes and everything, but I stuck to it, and it still wasn't having any effect on me. So, yeah, gave carnivore a try, and it completely helped.
So
Now I would
go ahead.
Oh, now I would say that if you can afford it, absolutely do strict carnivore, because that is what is going to completely, in my opinion, help you achieve remission. If you don't have access to cold laser therapy, I still think that some of the proteins in certain types of foods besides beef can be a little inflammatory, and I believe that that is what I was experiencing.
So when you started carnivore, what did you do?
So I started with standard carnivore, no dairy, except for some butter and ghee, and basically all the other types of meat. And I was still having some coffee at the time because I was like, I can't live without my coffee. I'm in college. How is this gonna work? And then I ixnayed the coffee for about a month and a half, and it did get better. But I still wasn't seeing the complete freedom that I wanted to from all of my autoimmune conditions. So my chronic pain started to come back a little bit, and that was really huge for me. My campus is quite steep and hilly, and there's lots of stairs, and I have to be pain free to walk around easily, obviously, like most people do. So really, that was the main thing. My fatigue started to creep in a little bit after about 90 days of being on carnivore, so about a month and a half ago. And then I found cold laser therapy, and I've been standard carnivore since then.
So what do you mean by that?
So standard carnivore, all types of meat, eggs, fish, poultry, pork, beef.
Okay. But you're still not doing much dairy.
No, I try to avoid it. I love cheese. It's really hard for me to avoid cheese, but yeah, I try to stay away from it. I know it's inflammatory, especially if it's not A2, unfortunately, and raw, which is nearly impossible to get in America. So,
Oh yeah. Oh, that, yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, one bite and I'm just like I turn into like a cheese machine or something.
yeah, the I've been eating a little bit over the holidays. Thanksgiving, I kind of dove into the cheese platter, which I now regret. But yeah, it's a tough one to avoid, especially on carnivore when you're like, dairy's carnivore, I can eat it.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't on,
But
wish it wasn't on that, pyramid or whatever. Because it's
the
hard
gray
to
area.
convince your brain that you're like, it's okay. And then like you wake up and you gain 5 pounds from water weight.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I get super stiff, so
oh, okay. So you can feel it. I can feel some. I have this like bum elbow, and like I mean, it's not that, but that's my autoimmune elbow. You know what I mean? Like
hmm
nothing's really wrong with it, but that's where I feel the pain. When I eat something bad.
yeah,
It's like your grandma's knee or something.
yeah. It's my right knee. I fell off a playground structure, got a bark chip in it when I was little. Never has been the same, and that's where all the pain goes. It's pretty
That's,
amazing. Yeah, I actually learned from my doctor that autoimmune disease, you feel it like in your weakest spot. So if you
oh,
have like a weak joint from injury or anything like that, that's where the symptoms are going to show up, because it doesn't have as much resilience, I guess, as your other joints and areas of your body.
that's weird because
Yeah.
I never hurt my elbow, but that's where I very first ever felt the pain when I first got sick, is that same
hmm
elbow, and it's always been there. But so are you still on thyroid medication?
I never went on thyroid medication.
Okay.
We were complete. I've been on thyroid supplements. I was
Like
taking
a
like a
glandular or something?
Yeah, I was taking one by Ancestral Supplements, and that really helped. But my unfortunately, coming from a holistic approach, and going to holistic doctors, all of them were just like, don't do the levothyroxine and that kind of stuff. And I was about to actually start that. I was very close to asking my NP, my nurse practitioner, for some, and then she put me on Thyroxol. Everyone was trying to avoid putting me on thyroid medication, which, I mean, in the long run, I guess I ended up not needing it, but I kind of wish I'd had it at the time when I was having extreme thyroid symptoms. So.
Yeah, I don't know because I wonder if, I mean, I couldn't even move out of bed. So I wonder if I hadn't have taken it, if I had waited 2 or 3 months and maybe my changes in my lifestyle, but I was not functioning at all. So I needed it so much. And
Oh,
I took Nature Throid right off the bat, but so I never did the Synthroid or anything. But so tell us what this cold laser therapy thing is.
So it's when I first had my first treatment done, I went in there and completely didn't think it was going to work, especially after I saw exactly what it was. I immediately thought, pseudoscience, this is not going to work. But what it is they run a handheld laser up and down your body. And on the side, there's this machine that reads your frequencies, like the energy that your body puts off. And if anything is out of balance, the frequency of the human body is not going to be in alignment, and this machine responds to it, and it actually screeches. And until it stops screeching, they continue to run the laser up and down your body. It is the most bizarre thing. There are no studies on it. And that is partially because no one wants to really study Lyme disease for numerous reasons. But it's very difficult to explain unless you've experienced it. But essentially, it's just a handheld laser that they run up and down your body. And there's two theories as to why it works. We don't know which one it is or why. But the first one is that the laser actually helps to calm your immune system. So your immune system, as you well know, is just repeatedly attacking your own tissues for whatever reason. And it basically just helps to calm it down and help it basically regain control of itself and go back to functioning as someone without autoimmunity. And the other reason, and this pertains specifically to Lyme disease, is that it dissolves the laser beam, basically dissolves the biofilm around the Lyme bacteria. And then that then allows the body to naturally rid itself of the bacteria like it would any other bacterial infection.
So can I break it down? It's defense mechanism or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the unfortunate thing about a lot of the antibiotic resistant bacteria is they have that biofilm, and it makes it basically impenetrable to antibiotics, even nutraceuticals. They can't get at it. So without breaking down that biofilm, the Lyme disease is pretty much just impenetrable.
Right, it runs rampant.
Yeah, it was very, the doctor that I ended up going to get the cold laser therapy, he was telling me all these stories about these people who he's treated, and he said one lady actually had an MRI done and she had lesions, holes, literal holes in her brain because her immune system had been overreacting for so long. And I was so thankful at that point that the treatment had helped me, because I cannot imagine getting any worse than I was. It was getting to the point where I couldn't get out of bed in the morning anymore. And basically my day would consist of me getting up, going to class, and then coming home and taking a nap, and then getting up to study for as long as possible, and then sleeping again.
Like, you're a young girl. I mean, you should be out like having fun with your friends and stuff.
Yeah, it was I was pretty lucky in terms of my social life. A lot of my friends kind of they didn't really understand what I was going through. They were able to grasp the concept that I did not feel good, so they did come over and visit me and everything. So I still had quite a bit of social support. Um, so I was pretty lucky in that
So they come and
sense.
watch TV with you or something.
Yeah, basically. They'd be like, yeah, you don't look like I'd be like, yeah, you guys want to do a study group? They get over to my house and I look like death formed over and they're just like, let's just watch a movie. You need to relax for a little bit. So yeah, I had a really good support, well, still do. I have a really great support system. So
That's lucky because a lot of
mhm.
people, I mean, I don't know about friends, but especially I know relationships can, your partner sometimes can't understand. They just think you're moody or something, and it's like, well, that's not really it. I mean,
Mhm.
um, luckily for me, I felt pretty good ever since I was on thyroid medication and I went paleo and then carnivore. But some people, they're just in such bad shape that they just can't act, even social or, hospitable to their partner or whatever. So,
Mhm.
um,
Well, and that's exactly how I'd be. I didn't want to go see my family members because they didn't really understand what I was going through. And with being in so much pain and being just tired and basically, kind of always feeling like I was on the brink of just like having a kind of midlife crisis, I didn't really want to be around anyone, especially people who didn't really understand.
yeah.
And that was unfortunately the majority of my family. So I was really lucky to have good friends.
Well, being in psychology, you must see a lot of overlap between this kind of thing that you're feeling and
Oh
then
yes.
the the depression and stuff. And people always ask,
Hmm.
Was I depressed?" And I was like, "No, I was just tired. I wasn't depressed." But a lot of people
Yeah.
feel depressed when they have this kind of thing happen.
Hmm. Well, and for me, I think it was at the stage that I am at in my life where, um, everyone was always telling me, "Oh, you shouldn't be acting like this. You shouldn't be so tired," and that would almost kind of make me feel depressed. Like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be like this, but this is the situation, and it's it is what it is. I mean, I try to function as well as I can my day-to-day life, and a lot of other people in my family have had pretty severe health issues like stage 4 cancer and those kinds of diseases. So it kind of turned into a one-up situation, like, oh, I have metastatic terminal cancer, what's wrong with you,
Yeah.
basically. And to me, that's kind of like, we shouldn't, everyone's sick in their own way, and everyone, the point that they're at in their life, that's uh, significantly impacting them, even if your situation may be more severe than to the person you're trying to one up, essentially. So
Yeah. You really
it's
just compare it and um, there's just no that person has a different experience for sure.
hmm.
Um, so what do you see holding the future in the future for you?
Well, I'm honestly really looking forward to naturopathic medical school again. I initially actually wanted to go the traditional MD route because I had it in my mind that I could completely change the traditional medical system, with what I've learned with being chronically ill and how we should be treating most chronic disease. And then I went to several traditional medical school orientations for prospective applicants, and that just completely changed my mind. Set on that, I very quickly realized that everyone I was going to be around is uh, definitely agrees with the pharmaceutical approach, which I personally think if they're really needed, then absolutely those they should be used. But for someone who's seen people in their family live off of insulin and metformin for decades, knowing that there is a simple fix for diabetes, essentially. I just can't get behind that belief system, and I honestly don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So for me, I am going to be pursuing naturopathic medical school, and I'm also working on getting my keto health coach certification, because I really want to have, I actually like to work as that for a few years before I go to med school, so I can kind of get some clinical practice in on how I should be treating people, not necessarily as patients, obviously as clients, but just so I can kind of get a feel for, do I want to pursue medicine, or do I want to just work as a health coach? Everyone in my family kind of makes jokes on, well, if you can avoid all those hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and still get to do what you want, then maybe you should go that route. So I'm going to be graduating. I was actually supposed to graduate this year, at the end of spring 2020, but with my health reclaimed, I decided to continue on and get the minors that I wanted to. So I'm very, very excited about that.
So you'll be in school another year or something, or?
Yeah, I actually went, so in Washington State, we have this program called Running Start, and I did 2 years of college when I was in high school. And I was actually going to graduate when I was 20 years old, but because of becoming extremely ill, I had to stretch my classes out a little bit more. So that extended it to 3 years, and I was like, well, I'll still graduate a year before most people do at 21. And I was like, oh, I really wanted to get those minors, and I originally wasn't going to be able to, and now I can. So yeah, I'm very excited.
That's awesome. I mean, stay in school as long as you can. I mean, there's nothing you're missing anything. So, what about, you talked about doing carnivore on a budget as a student. I mean, how do you do that?
So I eat a lot of ground beef. It's the cheapest cut of meat, and because I only eat like twice a day max, that definitely helps with costs. That's the one thing that I really enjoy about this lifestyle is it's very easy to fast. It's very easy to run off your body's own reserves. So that is definitely something that I would advise people is to, if you haven't tried fasting and decreasing your eating window, definitely try that, because that will cut down on obviously the amount of food you're eating. And
Easy way to save.
and be mindful of how much you're eating. Are you eating for entertainment? Are you eating because you're truly hungry? Obviously it's the holidays, so if you overeat a little bit, I mean, it's okay. But typically my day to day, it's 2 meals a day. Yeah, one of my favorite things to make, and it's pretty cheap. I think it comes out to about like $4 per meal, is 2 scrambled eggs with about half a pound of ground beef mixed in. It's kind of like an egg scramble that I make. It's pretty tasty. I don't really get tired of it. And find a farm. There are lots of farms around where I live, and I know that if you live in a big metropolis or a metropolitan city like Seattle, that's probably going to be a little harder. Although I think there are actually quite a few farms up there, like on the outskirts. So definitely try and find a local farm. If you go directly to the farmer, it is going to be cheaper. Especially if you buy the cuts of meat that no one really wants, like beef tongue.
That's the best.
It's so good. I love it. But yeah, I eat a lot of ground beef, which is fine. It's not my favorite cut in the world, but keeps me healthy.
I do too. I don't know why people always say it's so expensive, and it's like, well, yeah, if you try to eat ribeyes every meal, but I don't do that. I mean, you might see that on Instagram all the time because it's pretty and it looks good, because ground beef in a bowl it's not that cool, but that doesn't mean that that person is eating it every single meal, you know? I mean, I'm just like you, I eat scrambled eggs or fried eggs and ground beef most of the time, and then, you know, if I have something else, it'll be because I have people over or, you know, something like that.
Exactly. I I recently, after being carnivore and everything, and kind of getting the all clear from my doctor, I did try to add some plant foods back in, like avocado and everything. I didn't have any severe immune reaction, which was great, but I definitely prefer eating carnivore. I love how there's no bloat, no, just great digestion. I definitely plan to stick to it. Now it's more about optimizing performance instead of trying to get over autoimmune conditions for me.
Yeah, I think there's certain plants that are not as bad. Like, I mean, it seems like olives maybe or avocados, and but like yesterday I ate some coconut milk and some cocoa, and it
Hmm.
was freaking. I was like, it did not go down good.
Yeah. It's,
And I mean, that was because, still we did Thanksgiving for 2 days in a row. So,
hmm
but mostly I ate meat, but now I'm over it and I just want to, I didn't sleep that good. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back to my meat.
Yeah, my sleep's been a little awful. Like just it's yeah. I mean it's I think during the holidays it's totally fine if you want to indulge a little bit. Don't go overboard. Um but definitely if you're someone who definitely feels better on a certain type of diet, then definitely adhere to it. I adhered to paleo keto for 5 straight years and uh yeah, like I said, added just a few, like tried, like took a sample of one thing and it did not, it didn't taste good to me and it was just it wasn't worth it. That's honestly what I would tell people is yeah, it looks pretty and it looks good, but it's just not worth it. It won't taste good to you anymore if you've gone long enough without it.
Yeah, even like some herbs on something like gives me heartburn. It's like,
Oh,
it's like a little bit of herbs or like a shredded, like a chopped onion, really small or something. It just like it's like feels like it's stuck right here. And you're like, ugh.
mm-hmm. That's I used to love everything but the bagel seasoning. And then I went carnivore and obviously, had to go without it. And I had it on avocado like 2 weeks ago and I just felt sick afterwards. And I'm like, okay, well, it's good to know that that's not something I should be eating.
Well, it has
Yeah.
sesame seeds maybe.
Yeah.
And
It's I think it's got like dried onion or something in it, which
the big
yeah.
big pieces of onion, yeah.
Mhm.
So, what would you tell somebody? Oh, no, this is what I was gonna say. Have you ever done just the beef and water?
I haven't. So, I tried to do predominantly beef and water when I was starting to experience some Lyme symptoms again, but just not still having some of like chicken. I know is actually somewhat was inflammatory for me, those proteins. And I started to suspect egg whites at some point. And I think still having just that little bit of those in my diet was probably impeding eating predominantly beef. I've never tried it. No, completely on its own. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, well, you can do that when you graduate, I guess.
Yeah. I would love to. I hope to actually be practicing as a health coach my senior year. Um, so then I can kind of do that as like my side job while I'm
So,
going to school.
what was what did you say the coaching certification is? I couldn't hear that.
Oh, so it's a keto health coach certification. Maria Emmerich has this amazing program that she created, I think, about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So I've investigated a lot of them, and hers is just the best in my opinion because she actually teaches about carnivore. She added on a carnivore uh, module to it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Baker has one now too.
Yeah, the X Meat R. That's I don't know what it's called. I just looked it up this
RX,
morning. Yeah, something like that.
Meat RX, I guess.
Yeah. I think it was you have to. I actually looked at it, and it was you had to have been doing the carnivore diet for like 8 months, and I'm like, well, not quite there yet. So it's
Okay.
close, but yeah, because I tried carnivore in February, and I ended up going through some really rough transitions, and I was like, okay, maybe this isn't a very good idea to be doing this while I'm in school around midterms, feeling kind of nauseous during my midterms. So I went back to animal-based eating, which was much better than what I was doing before. I was eating a lot of keto goodies at the time. So then I did animal-based eating, that keto carnivore variation for about 6 months, and then I transitioned to carnivore over the summer when I could go through the transition and not have to not have to worry about anything. So I don't really consider myself to have been full on carnivore, and yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have some time. Like I thought about it for like 3 months before I started because I wanted to be at home and like get all my stuff together and, not just,
Hmm.
you don't want to be starting it when you have too many other things going on. I mean, if you, if you're not, you have to have your mental headspace right too. So,
Hmm. Well, and at the time when I did it in February, I was not really considering the like looking back on it, I'm like, I was not really doing it for the right reasons. I was gaining weight really rapidly because it was when I was still doing my protocol with the functional doctor, and symptoms were getting worse and everything. And I'm just like, I need to go zero carb to stop this weight gain from happening. And so I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. And I'm kind of glad that I had to start over because it helped me rethink, oh, I'm doing this for my health now. I'm not doing it for vanity metrics or, reasons. So I think that's a huge thing that I see on Instagram, is people trying to do carnivore for the vanity, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. I completely understand it, but health first. You're gonna, in my opinion, if you're expecting to lose 10 pounds in the first week, you're not gonna stick to it because that's not gonna happen.
yeah,
So,
I mean, that actually did happen for me.
oh, it did. Oh,
But,
okay.
but, but, but I didn't, that wasn't like my main driver. Um,
Yeah.
and I see it's exactly what you're saying. I mean, a lot of people in all the Facebook groups and stuff, that's what they say.
Mhm.
It's like if they even gain an ounce, they freak out, and it's like, well, that's not. Um, you're not going to stick with it if that's really your only motivation. You have to be doing it for your whole body wellness.
Mhm.
I mean, I really got into it because my digestion was so bad and nothing had helped. So this
Mhm.
was the only thing that helped my digestion and of everything, that I did. So that was really, and to see, small improvements in that over time was a big change. So how much is this laser therapy and how many times you have to do it? How often?
Yeah, so the doctor that I went to, he actually doesn't charge for it because his wife had Lyme disease, and she was her disease was so severe that she was bedridden, or they would have to put her in a wheelchair. So he doesn't charge for it at all. He is a chiropractor, so he does charge you for an adjustment. He checks you after every treatment, to see if you need adjustment, but that's it. He doesn't charge for the actual laser itself.
Okay.
Um,
So he adds it on kind of.
hmm So I got treated 3 times the first week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for people who want reference. And then you get treated once a month if you're still if you're not experiencing severe symptoms anymore. So I'm on the once a month plan, and I'm not quite sure how long it's going to continue on from there. But for now, it's once a month. I go back and he checks my thyroid and all my other joints and everything that were impacted from the Lyme disease. And if he notices anything out of place, then the laser is done.
Wow,
So,
that's cool. I mean, why not? I mean, that's what I always think, like, just be open-minded. When you have chronic illness, what if as long as it doesn't hurt you, then why not try?
Hmm.
It's the same with carnivore. Like, is it gonna hurt you to eat meat for like a month and just see? No.
Hmm. And there is actually a center in, I think it's New Hampshire, and it's called Lyme Laser Centers of New Hampshire, that they're pretty famous for it, that does cold laser therapy, and they have protocols and people can actually go there. And they do have a list of certified practitioners around the US. I was really fortunate there was not one in my area, and I found my doctor through a friend at a local grocery store.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah, if he's in Vancouver, Washington. His name's Dr. Whitmire, and he's a DC. So, if anyone lives in Vancouver, Washington, or close, and you're really having a hard time, I would really suggest going to see him. I mean, I sometimes think, is it a placebo effect? Because I feel like with being so inundated in science and everything, it can start to feel like, always questioning, is this a placebo effect? Am I just believing it and it's actually helping me get better? But I was at such a low point. There was no optimism
Yeah,
in my.
I don't believe that you can have. I mean, as somebody who couldn't get out of bed with
Hmm.
thyroid disease, like that is that is something you never forget, that feeling. And so there is no placebo effect for that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so I believe you.
That's what a bunch of people asked me after I got it done. They were, unfortunately, most people in the sciences, they're still, inundated in the traditional medical practices. So when you bring up cold laser therapy, everyone kind of looks at you like, okay, is your head on backwards? Because we use antibiotics to treat that. And then, have to explain them, antibiotics are just going to make you worse. And yeah. But
So now
yeah,
that's confusing because I mean, I've heard like different things like that only like Lyme disease is one of the times you actually really need the antibiotics. And
mm-hmm.
I found a tick on my back about a month or two ago. It was
Oh no.
like it was like, you know, it was
Pretty
like
fairly engorged.
yeah, it was hiding underneath like my strap and
Mm-hmm.
I was freaking out and um but anyway, nothing seems to have happened, but somebody on Instagram was like, "Well, you need to take a month of antibiotics just to be safe or something." And I was like, "That will kill me."
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
so people, if you have a doctor that's proactive, and call a GP, a general practitioner, and say, got bit by a tick, I'm really concerned about Lyme. They're going to send the tick to get tested. If it comes back positive for Lyme, they're probably going to put you on a round of antibiotics, because if the antibiotics are delivered quick enough, it will kill off the infection. But once the infection has left the bloodstream and is in your tissues, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's, I mean, unfortunately, I've read so many different blogs by doctors and even people who aren't Lyme professionals, at some points, and you hear all these different things. Oh, antibiotics are the only thing that work, and they'll work if you've had Lyme disease for 10 years or 2 days. And unfortunately, I personally don't believe that they work after a certain time period, and that's basically what I've been taught by Lyme professionals and what I've learned through research. I used to spend so much time on PubMed and certain databases at my university, and most of the studies that have been done come to the same conclusion, that antibiotics are only effective within the first 48 hours. Past that time, yeah, it could end up making you worse. And the whole could end up making you worse stems from your immune system is what's trying to save you, and it's going to get killed off with the antibiotics. And then you're going to have absolutely no defense mechanisms uh, to try and help. The Lyme disease is just going to completely take over your body.
Wow. Yeah. So you think only the first like couple weeks or something?
Very, very early on is when they're effective, in my opinion. And that's, like I said, not a doctor. That's just from what my research and what I've been taught by professionals. And with that said, I mean, even though the functional medicine, it didn't work out and it didn't work, it might for some people, if you're not as progressed, or maybe it depends on the person. That's what I'm honestly going to go with. Is it really depends on the person at this point, in treatments with this disease.
Well, and also, I mean, if they are willing to change their diet and stuff, I mean, if you go into it and you are still eating, or, a lot of people are even vegetarians. I mean, they're probably not going to get better if they're not getting the right nutrition at the same time
Mm-hmm.
as
Yeah.
following. I mean, you have to have like a full body approach, and then even you have to go with the toxins in your home and just on and on. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what's your burden overall?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that was one of my things, is actually I wanted to take a semester off from school during my treatment, because I was just like, I can't deal, basically. And I didn't. I kept pushing through, and I'm really glad I did, because then I'd be behind a semester. But definitely, if I can give any advice to anyone who is doing Lyme disease treatment, autoimmune disease treatment in general, if you can, try to create an environment that is just, this is going to sound like this is really hard to do, obviously, but try to create an environment that is as stress free as possible, which in our culture, I really don't know how that would be. You'd have to probably go to a deserted island or something to be completely
Yeah.
relaxed. But yeah, I that was one of the things that I tried to do, was, no stress. Just try not to do anything that will aggravate my condition and immune system more than it already is. And that really did help me get through the treatment and everything that ended up not working. But
So do you have a place to cook? Do you live in an apartment when you
yeah, so I live in a house. So yeah,
with some
I'm lucky. I actually I live in a house. So my parents have a vacation house here. Like I said, I actually live with them over in Vancouver, because I wasn't able to take care of myself. I was supposed to go to the main campus in Pullman, and I had to change that. We were honestly concerned that I wasn't going to be able to make it on my own because of being so ill.
Oh,
So
that's a good choice, I think.
yeah, I don't like to talk about it, because it's like it's kind of upsetting for me, and it's I'm really, now that I'm better, I'm really ready to be out on my own and kind of, living my own life. So that's actually what I'm doing next year, is transferring to the main campus in Pullman, which I'm very excited about.
Well, I'm
So
so glad you're feeling better. I mean, don't worry about it. I lived with my parents till I was like 28, so no, 27. Yeah. I mean, off and on, you move out, then you come back, and then you move out.
hmm
So don't worry about it. Um,
yeah.
well, so what are you working on now, Janae?
Well, right now I'm on Thanksgiving break, and then I go back to school next week, and it's dead week. And I'm excited, but also can't believe it's the end of the semester already. It went by really fast. And then then I have spring, and then I'll be moving. It's really, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So what kind of things are you doing with your Instagram and stuff?
Hmm, I don't know. I'm kind of at a standstill right now. I'm like frustrated with the new algorithm and everything, and just kind of trying to figure out like what types of content or people are interested in work and what works well. I kind of got tired posting food pics constantly, so I tried to move into more science, which people tend to enjoy. But then that's a lot of work. aside from school, like having to research topics that are interesting and everything. So right now I'm kind of documenting my kind of, I'm calling it my project comeback, like what it's been like getting back into fitness and everything after Lyme, because that's been really difficult when I was obviously very ill. As you know, you just don't have any exercise or any energy to exercise at all. So unfortunately, I was very much into fitness when I was younger. I loved weightlifting and running. So that's been kind of documenting what I've been doing, like how I'm getting back in the gym and how I'm starting to train for races again and everything, which has been fun. But I think people are kind of like, what are you doing? Because everyone's used to, you know, food pics and science and everything. So
Well, I think
yeah, I'm just kind of.
just having a mix of whatever you're going through is,
Mhm.
your reflection of your life, but, offering value for other people who are experiencing the same things. And yeah, I've been
Mhm.
through all that. Like you want to,
Yeah,
you want to sleep all the time, but you want to exercise, but then you
that
shouldn't.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last Christmas. I was so determined to not gain any weight over the holidays, because at the time I was still eating lots of keto goodies, and you know, like a lot of people do on keto. I know it's that's one of my biggest vices with keto is I think that it can be a little addicting. I think that those food products, they're just as addicting as the real thing.
Yeah.
Uh, for for me, anyways.
A
So I really try to
muffin's
avoid
still
it.
a muffin.
A muffin is still a muffin. I don't care if it's made with wheat flour or almond flour. Um, so I was doing these HIIT workouts, and I love HIIT. I think it is one of the best workouts that you can do if you can tolerate it. But I was absolutely killing myself trying to do it with severe autoimmune disease. But I was so determined to not. Yeah. So I made it through like 6 weeks of this program, and then January came around and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So when I obviously the complete wrong way to go about getting back into exercise. So for me, getting back into exercising has been like doing like kind of sprint running and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know how I got going on that. I always go down these rabbit holes of this is why I need note cards for when I do Instagram lives.
Well, I think that, it's so hard because our culture is so, it's like if you don't work out every single day, you're lazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to put in your mind, you have to put that with, but I have a chronic illness. And so you're like, it's like this
Yeah,
fight
yeah.
back and forth.
It.
And you're trying to reduce your stress, but exercise is a stress. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then our culture every second is like, get off your butt, lazy, and so
Yeah.
it's conflicting. And especially if you have all these messages left from other times in your life. And well, well, it's been really fun talking to you, Janae,
Yeah,
and
you
I'm so
too.
glad you're feeling better now, and I hope that you um, keep on, getting better and better, and just don't stop sharing because you're going to help and reach people, especially people your age. They're getting sicker younger and younger now because of our toxic environment and food and everything. So, don't, even if you don't think you're getting the response that you want,
Mm-hmm.
people are listening and you are getting through to them. So don't give up the fight.
I won't. And I keep telling myself that everything's gonna change someday. It's
Yeah.
might not happen tomorrow, but it will happen.
Well, and if you keep building your Instagram and your social media while you're in school, then you'll have something to work with when you get out. So it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, keep in touch. It was great talking to you. And
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
well, it was so good. Everybody, just make sure and uh, subscribe, like this video, and share with a friend. We really appreciate it. See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.
Hi there! Thanks so much for watching the last video. I really appreciate it. Now I want to make sure that you know that I just wrote an ebook all about how to do the carnivore diet, and it's called the 30-Day Carnivore Diet Challenge, and it is just amazing. I am just so proud of it. I worked on it for so long, and it's 182 pages. It has 2 meal plans. It has shopping lists. It has so many amazing features, and it's not just the straight carnivore diet. It has my tweaks and recommendations on how to do it more effectively, more efficiently. And if you get it before January 1st, you will be added to our coaching group where you will get my free coaching for 1 month. And I will be doing live coaching every single day, or my sister who co-wrote it with me will be doing the live coaching every single day. So we're going to trade off and do that coaching group together. So it is going to be amazing, and I don't want you to miss out. So make sure you buy my book before January 1st, and you will be added to that group, and it is just going to be so much fun. So I can't wait to see you in there. So swipe up to get my book, or visit the link in the profile, or go to carnivore30.info, carnivore30.info. So thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.